Thomas thought it couldn't be done. He noticed Jinwoo was different after becoming stronger, but he couldn't explain how. Their handshake finished before he could understand it. "What brings you to Korea?" Jinwoo asked. "Oh," Thomas remembered where he was and smiled again. "Didn't you say we would eat together when my hand felt better?" Thomas showed his healed left hand and waved hello, and Jinwoo looked at the clock. It was 4:30, not time for lunch but not quite dinner time yet. "There's still time before dinner, so excuse me for a moment." Jinwoo walked quickly over to Jinyo. Thomas wasn't needed for important work right now, so he decided to handle something else quickly. "Can you find the largest open gate in Seoul?" Jinyo looked surprised by the request. "Will any big gate do, sir? I need a very important gate, even if someone else has already claimed it." "I understand." Jinyo typed rapidly on his computer, until he found what he was looking for. His face brightened. "There's a very difficult and dangerous gate, sir." "Really? But the Hunters Association has already said they will take care of it." This news didn't bother Jinwoo at all. "That's okay." Jinwoo wasn't worried about who had permission to enter. He was actually glad things would probably go well, because he knew some people in the association. He was just about to leave the office feeling good, but he turned back to say goodbye to Thomas. "I need to handle something, so let's talk about dinner later when I get back." Thomas didn't say anything. Jinwoo hurried off, leaving Thomas looking surprised and a little confused. Thomas was very surprised as he watched Jinwoo leave. He started to laugh loudly. Oh my, Thomas knew he shouldn't have just shown up without letting anyone know he was coming. It wasn't very polite to a visitor who had traveled a long way, but Thomas had been the one to be impolite first. He should have known Jinwoo would be very busy. "Okay, then you can reach me here." Thomas gave Jinho the phone number for the hotel he was staying at before he left work. Jinho sighed with relief, then jumped when he felt someone suddenly standing next to him. "Oh, you were still here." Leonard got to the guild office very early before Thomas arrived. He didn't know any Korean, but it was clear the vice president of the Ajin Guild had forgotten about him. "I made an appointment back in Germany." People treated Leonard like an important guest, but now he felt small and looked down at the floor. After all, what could he say when even Thomas Andre left with nothing, and didn't complain? Both magical creatures and hunters only had one life. Leonard sadly stood up and wrote his phone number small next to Thomas's. The best members of the Hunters Guild were getting ready for a mission, but they all stopped and looked at Jinwoo when he walked in. Hao-sen had received a phone call earlier, so she wasn't surprised to see him. "What do you mean you want to borrow a dungeon?" "That's right. I want to borrow a dungeon if I can." Jinwoo was happy to hear from her since it had been a while. Anne thought it was strange that the first time he called in a long time, it was to ask about borrowing a dungeon. She was ready to scold him, but she couldn't after seeing Jinwoo's happy smile. She didn't know what to say, so she looked away. Just then, Jongin, who was also waiting for Jinwoo, ran up to them. "Hunter Sung." Jinwoo had already explained his plan before he got there. No leader of a hunter group would turn down a job to defeat all the magical creatures in a dangerous area, especially if they didn't have to fight the strongest one. Jongin, who worried about his team getting hurt in the difficult area, happily agreed to Jinwoo's offer, and his team felt relieved too, even if they didn't show it. Jinwoo started toward the dangerous area, but he stopped and turned around when he felt someone pull on his sleeve. It was Hain, her face very red. She quietly asked him, "What are you planning to do in there?" He said he needed to test something. His helpers were going through some changes. When he talked about his helpers, Hain remembered the two she had fought at the gym, Igris and Baru. These creatures were very powerful, not weak enough to be called helpers, and strong enough to hurt even a top hunter like her. What changes to these creatures would need to be tested first. Hain was curious and quietly asked, "Can I come with you inside?" She didn't just want to be helpful, and Jinwoo quickly shook his head. "I'm going to let them move freely, so it would be too risky." Jinwoo answered firmly, and his eyes showed he was very serious. Hain agreed and walked away quietly. He went through the gate, leaving a sad Hain behind. A message appeared, "You have entered the dungeon." Jinwoo called Baru, who was hidden in the shadows. "Come out." The Hunter Guild team quickly tried to get into the dungeon after Jinwoo left. "Hey, stop pushing. The dungeon isn't going anywhere, so no need to rush." Everyone wondered what Jinwoo-sung was trying to do, that he needed to use another guild's gate. It was strange because rank dungeons had become harder recently. The hunters looked around the inside of the cave with curious eyes, and were quickly shocked by what they saw. The bodies of defeated magical creatures were scattered around, leaving a trail of blood that led into the dark part of the cave. They were speechless and afraid to go any further. Look over there. One hunter nudged the hunter standing next to him. The other hunter immediately turned to see what his friend was pointing at. He was shocked by the terrible sight. What could have happened to cause a dead magical creature to be stuck in the ceiling? Dungeons are made of much stronger stuff than normal caves. So this was amazing. I don't think I'll feel like eating dinner tonight. Hunters who didn't like scary things turned pale when they saw the magical creature's remains. It was even more surprising that Jinwoo had finished everything in less than 10 minutes. A hunter, a woman, quietly said to herself. Hunter Sung, he doesn't seem like that kind of person. But as they went deeper, they saw more and more signs of a terrible fight. In her 5 years as a hunter, she had never seen a dungeon so damaged. Another hunter, a man, agreed with her. Is this what people mean when they say to let your wild side show? But Haenon shook her head. She didn't think Jinwoo had caused this mess. She had watched him fight many times. The Jinwoo she knew always defeated his enemies quickly and neatly. It was almost like watching art. When Haenon first saw him fight, she was amazed by how graceful and smooth his movements were. That made her wonder which of his helpers was strong enough too. Suddenly she remembered a huge ant creature who had roared at her, making her feel very scared. It was a truly wild and frightening sight. Jinwoo said his creature had changed, but what exactly had happened to it? His kin quickly left her surprised coworkers and hurried out of the dungeon to find some answers. But Jinwoo was already gone. What is the hurry? His kin wondered as she looked around for him. She had lots of questions for him, but she knew she would have another chance to ask them later. She sighed very quietly. Then she turned around and smiled a little. Gina carefully walked toward her mom, who was washing dishes, as quietly as a cat. Clink, clink. Her mom either didn't hear her or acted like she didn't. But as soon as Gina was close enough, she ran and gave her mom a big hug. Mom, Kyunji didn't seem surprised at all, and answered with a warm voice. Are you bored, sweetie? Yes, really bored. Jinwoo hasn't been home for a few days, and you won't play with me. While her mom was sleeping in the hospital, Jinwoo had started helping out a lot. He worked to earn money, and also did chores around the house, so Gina could concentrate on school. He was more than just a brother to her. He was like a parent, and a friend too, because he was away from home so much with his busy life. Gina really missed him. Now everyone in Korea knew who he was, but that didn't matter, if she didn't get to see him. Gina looked at her mother, feeling sad that her brother wasn't there. But I'm glad you're here, she said. Gina leaned against her mother and smiled. Kyunji laughed quietly as she washed the dishes. For a while Gina stayed close to her mom, like a bug holding tightly to a tree. Mom, I think we should move to a new place, Gina said. Kyunji stopped washing dishes for a moment, but then she kept going, still smiling. Do you want to move to a new apartment, honey? Yes. Oh my. I still like this place though. Why would anyone want to live in this old building? Kyunji kept washing the dishes while Gina complained to her. Gina knew the truth, but she was still upset. She understood why her mom didn't want to move. Her brother Jinwoo earned a lot of money, more than most people ever could, but they still lived in a rented apartment. Her mom had one reason for this. She hoped her husband, the children's father, might come back someday, even though everyone thought he was gone. Gina didn't remember her dad at all, so she thought waiting for him was pointless. Jinwoo hadn't mentioned moving again, after he understood why his mom felt the way she did. I still like our house, Gina puffed out her cheeks and let her mother respond calmly. Don't be upset. Kasunji turned around quickly. Could you please bring in the clothes? I hung outside to dry. You only call me that when you want something. Gina didn't mind though. She happily walked onto the balcony where the clothes were drying. Gina was getting really good at doing laundry while her mom was away and she was finishing it up quickly. But then she stopped what she was doing. The sky had gotten dark. What was that? She looked up and was surprised by what she saw. The laundry basket slipped from her hands. Mom! President Jinchul Woo's hands were sweaty. He looked down at them, and rubbed them on his pants. When had he last felt this nervous? Going into a dangerous place might have been easier than this moment. Don't worry so much, President Wu. The important government official, who had asked Jinchul to the Blue House, smiled. It was hard to talk to a country's leader when he seemed so worried. The government official understood Jinchul felt a lot of pressure being chosen for such an important job at a young age. He had been the one to ask Jinchul to take the position, so he hoped Jinchul wouldn't make any big mistakes. I apologize, Jinchul said, nodding with a forced smile. The government official patted Jinchul's hand to show his support. The door to the private room opened and the important guest entered with his team. Mr. President, Jinchul and the high-ranking government official stood up to greet him. Oh, please sit. You don't need to stand up. I'm not that important. President Kim tried to make everyone feel more relaxed as he sat down. Jinchul and the other man followed the president. President Kim looked directly at Jinchul. You must be very busy with the association. President Wu. Oh, not at all. Jinchul's tired eyes showed. He wasn't telling the truth. He thought about the previous president, Mr. Go, and how much work he had done even when he was sick. Jinchul respected Mr. Go even more now that he was gone. Anyway, Jinchul just wanted to get out of this awkward situation quickly. Excuse me, Mr. President, but may I ask why you wanted to see me? Mr. Wu. I apologize, sir. The government worker was surprised by Jinchul's direct way of speaking, but the president stopped him. It's not right to keep President Wu waiting, since he is a busy man. Quick talks and clear ideas, that's how President Kim liked to do things. So I will get right to the point. President Wu, I wanted to talk to you because at that moment Jinchul noticed the president was watching him closely. He guessed President Kim was about to ask him for something difficult. As he expected, President Kim laughed a little nervously. I've heard you and Hunter Jin Woo Sung are good friends. Jinchul quickly explained this wasn't quite right. I know Hunter Sung, but we are just acquaintances.
Oh, that's funny.
Yes, sir. The former President Go was the one who knew Hunter Sung well. Jinchul remembered President Go saying he wanted to have a drink with Jin Woo. After thinking for a moment, President Kim continued. Can you still contact Hunter Sung? Yes, sir. Good. Jinchul asked carefully. What do you need, Mr. President? President Kim smiled. Now that Hunter Sung is famous, I want him to help promote Korea to the world. I would like him to be our public face, representing our country. Jin Woo Sung was a powerful hunter from Korea. He had defeated very strong opponents, even hunters recognized nationally. Because he was so skilled, people in charge of protecting others paid close attention to him. Leaders from different countries also wanted to know about Jin Woo, as he was becoming very well known. President Kim had a plan to get Jin Woo to support him before anyone else could. His first step was to ask Jin Woo to be a public face for Korea, like a spokesperson. The president hoped this would build a good relationship with the hunter. As Jin Woo became more famous, the president thought he could count on him for help. President Wu of the Hunters Association could help them connect. Jinchul wasn't fooled though. He realized President Kim had brought him here for a reason, and he started to get angry. They were trying to get him involved in this plan so quickly after he started his new job. President Kim didn't understand him very well. Jinchul wasn't like the previous president, Gun Hee-go. The last president had protected the association from problems with politics, and they thought Jinchul would be easy to control. Now that those protections were gone, Jinchul was furious, but he also felt a little better knowing what they were trying to do. President Go always said the Hunters Association helped hunters do their jobs well, which was good for both the hunters and everyone else. Remembering President Go's words made Jinchul smile a little. President Kim laughed, thinking Jinchul's smile meant he agreed. Ha ha ha, President Kuo understands me, unlike some people. I'm asking for your help. Okay. This isn't just about me, is it? He seemed to be talking about someone else. Jinchul squeezed his jaw. President Go, who passed away, was a very kind man. Yes, of course. A kind man. And a little bit serious too. I am very different from President Go.
Ha ha ha. That's true.
The group needs to update how things are done. We can't keep doing things the old way forever. Can we? Jinchul gave a confident smile. How long do you think it would take me to defeat everyone in this building? Even the guards. How could you even say that? The government worker stood up quickly, but Jinchul's strong presence stopped him. These two men weren't special fighters, just ordinary people. To them, a very skilled hunter was even more dangerous than a magical creature. What chance did a person who couldn't defend themselves against a tiger or bear have against someone so strong? Just a few hours. No, it wouldn't take long at all. Jinchu continued speaking calmly, even though he could see the others losing color in their faces. So how many people do you think it would take to stop me if I started to lose control? I guess you could stop me if you called every soldier and police officer in Seoul, and they could hold on until my power ran out. Jinchu stayed calm while saying these frightening things, and President Kim became even more scared. Why are you doing this? President Kim couldn't speak clearly because of the strong, scary energy Jinchu was giving off. But what if Hunter Sung lost control? How many people would it take to stop him? President Kim felt a shiver as he pictured Jinwoo, a man who had defeated giant creatures using only his strength, now turning against people. Jinchul felt better knowing he had made his point and calmed himself down. Hunters believed in doing their jobs well, and that's why certain things just didn't happen. Hunters had their area of responsibility, and politicians had theirs. The former President Go had made it clear that keeping things running smoothly was the most important job. Jinchul looked directly at President Kim, who seemed scared, and said, I don't want to harm the Hunters Association that the late President Go built. I expect your help with this. What could President Kim do but agree? With Jinchul's feelings now understood, President Kim quickly said, of course the hunters should hunt the dangerous creatures. I did not think carefully and spoke without considering everything. Jinchul stood up as President Kim, looking very worried, continued to nod to show he agreed. Even after he was gone, President Kim and the government officials stayed seated for a while, still surprised. They were reminded how intimidating the hunters were. Did something good happen in there? President Wu. The driver asked. Do I seem like something good happened? President Wu replied. The driver was new to the surveillance team. Seeing them made Jinchul smile, as he remembered his own early days. He thought, I finally did something good, as the leader of the group. Jinchul sat back in the chair that President Go used to sit in. He remembered how the former president always supported hunters and wasn't afraid of criticism from important people. Things went smoothly. Jinchul was accustomed to people noticing him because of his strong gaze and tall build. If being in charge meant dealing with problems, he was ready. He had prepared himself when he became president. Where are we going? President Wu. Back to the association. Jinchul really wanted to go home, but he had to go to the meeting instead of finishing his work. He still had a lot of work to do. Okay. The driver quickly sped away as if he knew what Jinwoo was thinking, and the car left the blue house. How much time had passed? Jinchul had fallen asleep while looking out the window. When he opened his eyes, all he could see were long lines of cars. Seoul was usually crowded, but the traffic was much worse than normal for this time on a school day. Had another strange opening appeared on the road, Jinchul looked around, worried, but something felt very odd about the air around him. Drivers had stopped their cars, and people walking on the street had all paused. Everyone was looking up at something in the sky. Even Jinchul's driver was stretching his neck to see through the windshield. What was happening? Fully awake, Jinchul shook the young man's shoulder. Hey! What is happening? President Wu, the driver's voice shook, as he pointed upward. Over there Jinchul was very surprised. Was he imagining things? No, that didn't explain why everyone else was looking at the sky with the same shocked faces. Jinchul didn't want to believe his eyes, so he quickly opened the car door and got out to look with the other drivers. What he saw was real. He was very scared as he looked at the strange thing in the sky. How is this possible? Jinwoo felt good about how the test went. Baru had become strong, even stronger than he thought she would. He was a little disappointed that Igris didn't get any stronger, but he was still happy with the results. The people at the Hunters Guild were probably very surprised by what happened in the dungeon. Jinwoo smiled, thinking about how surprised Hein would be. He wanted to talk to her, but he had guessed waiting. He thought about who to call first and decided on Thomas. Jinwoo had a guess about why Leonard wanted to meet, but he couldn't understand why the second best hunter in the world would come to Korea, without warning. Thomas answered the phone immediately. Mr. Sung. Thomas spoke quickly, as if he worried Jinwoo might end the call. I have some amazing gifts for you. Gifts. When Jinwoo said Thomas should have shown those things sooner, Thomas was quiet for a moment. Then he answered, sounding like he was trying to control his feelings. I'm happy you like them, Where should we meet? I want to give you these gifts first. Anywhere is fine with me. Could you come to me then? That would be best. It was a little risky for me to carry these around. Jinwoo looked surprised and said he would do it. Then ended the call. Are they explosives? No. That wouldn't make sense. A really strong hunter could handle the job much better than using a bomb. Jinwoo wished he had asked what the objects were. Just then Baru spoke to him. My king. Yes. Could I maybe fight that person from another place? Jinwoo thought about it for a moment, but quickly shook his head, as if to dismiss the idea.